The secret to getting your child to listen the first time without you needing to yell isn't about following some fancy discipline technique or finding the perfect consequence. It's about speaking to them in a way that their developing brain actually understands so that they can follow through right away. As a pediatric occupational therapist who's worked with hundreds of families, I've created a simple 5-step method that completely changes how kids respond. I've seen kids go from ignoring everything to listening the first time, sometimes within just days of trying this approach. And in this video, I'm going to break down all 5 steps and show you exactly how to use them in everyday situations so that by the end, you'll have proven practical tools that will actually work. No more repeating yourself, no more yelling, and no more feeling like you failed as a parent. So let's dive into step 1, the connection catalyst. This step is an absolute game changer in getting kids to listen the first time. And this is because kids become completely immersed in whatever they're doing. Whether they're playing with their toys, watching TV, or like my kids this morning, playing Power Rangers, they enter this incredible state of deep focus. And when they're in this state, it's like they have noise-cancelling headphones on. Your words literally don't register. Think about it this way. Have you ever been scrolling through your phone and your partner asks you something and then they say, "Hello, did you even hear me?" and you genuinely didn't? That same thing is happening to your child all the time. So before you ask your child to do anything, you need to remove those noise-cancelling headphones. To do that, every time you need your child's attention, walk over and then crouch down to their eye level. Now this is incredibly important because standing over them can actually feel intimidating and trigger their fight, flight, or freeze response. And in that state, they're far more likely to ignore you, argue, or completely shut down. But crouching down and connecting with them at their level signals safety, which makes them much more likely to actually hear what you have to say. Then gently place your hand on their arm, shoulder, hand, or leg. When you touch your child like this, it's like you're removing those headphones and directing their attention towards you. Then simply say their name and wait until they actually look up at you. That moment of eye contact is your signal that you've actually made a connection, and only then should you move on to giving the instructions. And this is where things often fall apart because without even realizing it, we end up saying something like, "All right, sweetie, we need to clean up all these toys, put on your shoes and socks, grab your bag, and then get into the car because it's time to leave." Now, for you and I, this list of instructions seems perfectly clear, but for your child, it's like a giant wall of words hitting them all at once, and it's just too much for their developing brain to handle, especially their working memory. Think of working memory like a mental whiteboard where we hold information temporarily. As adults, our whiteboards are pretty big, so we can juggle several tasks at once, except on those days when we have very little sleep and that whiteboard shrinks dramatically. But for kids, their whiteboard is tiny, and when you give them a long list of tasks, that little whiteboard fills up really quickly and one of 2 things happen. They only do part of what you ask because they've already forgotten the rest, or they don't do anything at all because they're completely overwhelmed. So if you want to get your child to do what you ask the first time, you need to make sure that your instructions aren't too much for their mental whiteboard to handle, which is step 2, the whiteboard match. And here's how to do just that. First, you want to match your directions to your child's developing stage. At around 18 months of age, most toddlers can only handle simple single-step directions. For example, pick up the ball. Anything more than that is generally too complicated and they're going to find it confusing or overwhelming. By the time they're 2, many toddlers can manage directions that consist of 2 steps, but they need to be closely related. For example, pick up the ball and put it in the basket. If you were to say something like pick up the ball and go and get your shoes, it's probably going to be too complicated for them at this age. And then at 3 years of age, many toddlers are able to follow 2-step directions which are unrelated. For example, give me Teddy and then go and pick up the ball. or click the like button and follow me for more. Then, by 5, most children can manage directions that consist of 3 unrelated steps, such as put the ball in the box, grab your shoes, and get in the car. In addition to matching their developmental stage, it's also important to keep those directions short and specific. So instead of saying something vague like clean up your toys and get ready to go, which involves way too many hidden steps, try something super clear like put the blocks in the container. And finally, tell them what to do rather than what not to do, as this lets them know exactly what's expected, which makes them much more likely to do what you ask. So instead of saying stop running, you could simply say walking inside, or instead of don't climb on the table, you could say sit down. Actually, on that note, telling your child not to do something or to stop doing something is actually one of 8 phrases I recommend avoiding wherever you can, because it just doesn't convey the message we always intend, and put simply, there are just more effective alternatives that you can use instead. I put together a free resource called 8 Parenting Phrases to Rethink and What to Say Instead that dives into this more deeply, and you can grab it by clicking the link in the description if you're curious. Now, after you've given your child that clear, positive instruction, it's time for step 3, which is something most of us skip entirely, and that is the patient pause. This is where you stay right there with them and simply count to 10 in your head before you repeat or yell your direction again. This step is absolutely crucial because your child's brain needs time to process the words they've just heard, understand what those words actually mean, plan out how to do what you're asking, and then get their body to act. And research shows this entire sequence takes a child's developing brain about 7 to 10 seconds to complete. So you need to give them the time to do all of that. Now, after you've counted to 10, one of 2 things will happen. Your child will do what you ask, and if so, great. That's a win. And it's time for step 4, the specific spotlight. This is where you immediately acknowledge what they did right with specific praise. So instead of a generic good job, try something like, wow, you put all the blocks in the bin, or I love how quickly you put your shoes on. When you're specific like this, it helps your child understand exactly what they did well, makes them feel genuinely proud of their accomplishment, and motivates them to repeat the behavior the next time. And it also teaches them something powerful, that following directions the first time leads to positive attention from you, which builds both their confidence and their willingness to cooperate over time. Now, the other possible outcome is they don't do what you said, and if this happens, it's time for step 5, the helping hand. Remember, you want your child to learn that when you ask them to do something, you mean it the first time, not after you've repeated yourself 100 times or started yelling. So if they're not doing what you asked, it's time to step in and help them follow through right then and there. So start by repeating the direction, but make it simpler if you need to. So for example, if you said go and get dressed and they're just ignoring you, you can try breaking it down. So you might say put on your shorts, and even pointing to their shorts to make it super clear. And if they're still not doing it, that's your sign to jump in and actually help them out. So sticking with the dressing example, first you would say sit down while you're pointing to the chair. Then you would say pick up your shorts as you place the shorts in their hands. And then finally you would say now put your shorts on as you help them pull them up if needed. And here's the important part. As they complete each step, you would praise their efforts to help build their confidence and cooperation. And over time, you'll notice that they start relying less on you to help, and they also start listening right away. They're learning that they have to do it immediately no matter what. Ignoring you or stalling isn't going to change the fact that it's time to do something. And just remember, not everything is going to be smooth sailing right away. Sometimes your little one just isn't in the mood to cooperate, and that's totally okay. They're little humans with their own thoughts, feelings, and moods. And just like us, they have off days or moments where they just don't want to do what we're asking. It's completely normal, and it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. But here's the good news. When your toddler just isn't feeling it, there are 4 simple, extremely effective techniques that can completely turn things around. And in this video, I break down exactly what those techniques are and how you can use them to get your little one on board, even on their most stubborn days. Trust me, you'll want to check it out, especially if you're tired of power struggles and you're looking for real practical solutions that actually work.